Hi, this is Van, and before we bring you another Between Two Trains episode, I wanted to let you know about a great event that's coming up in a couple of weeks. On November 11th, which is Veterans Day, the Blue and Gold Foundation of the Chamblee Charter High School is putting on a ceremony to honor our veterans. At 1:30 at Chamblee High School, there will be a celebration event, and then at 6 p.m. there will be a dinner appreciation. Please consider coming out and checking out one of those two events. If you're a veteran and you're listening to these, we want to hear from you. If you'd like to buy a ticket for the dinner appreciation, they're only $25 and they are tax deductible. You can find out more information from Cheryl Fink of the Blue and Gold Foundation at 678-977-1032. Please consider coming to this great Veterans Day event. And now, Between Two Trains.
Hi, my name is Theo, and you are listening to Between Two Trains. We bring you the best and brightest entrepreneurs in the North DeKalb area on the 1st and 15th of every month. Today, your co-hosts are Van Pappas and Eric Most. And now, Between Two Trains.
All right, we're back for another Between Two Trains. My name is Van Pappas, and once again, I have my fabulous co-host, Eric Most. Eric, welcome back.
Van, how are you doing?
Doing good. You took a little break. We had a couple of episodes without you, so I'm glad you're back because I think this is going to be an exciting episode. We are going to do something a little different. Instead of interviewing an entrepreneur, although we do have an entrepreneur in the room with us, we have asked the Chamber of Commerce, the Chamblee Chamber of Commerce, to come talk to us about the value of the Chamblee Chamber. So we have with us today the president, Jim Demetry.
Demetry, yes.
Demetry, you think I should know that by now after all these years. Demetry, I am absolutely the worst on names.
Me too.
And Aurora Santana, who is what's your official title for the Chamber?
I am the office administrator.
Office administrator. So what I like about Aurora is Aurora, Eric, has actually been with the Chamber since day one. The Chamber was started, and I think within the first week she was hired, right?
Well, actually, the Chamber began, the Chamber opened its business in December 2013, opened its doors to the public on April 2014, and I joined in June.
Okay, so it wasn't exactly day one, but it was really close. And she's been with the Chamber ever since, seeing all kinds of changes to the leadership, different presidents. She's had to really deal with a lot of different dynamics. So
That's very good. That's very good tenure.
Yes, I love it.
She's doing
It's
something
been
right.
great.
Well, speaking about the foundation of the Chamber, Van, do you know anything about that?
I know a couple of things about that, but let's talk first about what the Chamber is doing today, and we can talk history as we go. So, Jim, you are now the current president of the Chamber of Commerce. You took over when?
I took over in January of this year, Van.
Okay. All right. And so let's talk a second about, let's backtrack a little and talk about who you are and what you do. You're a lawyer, right? Tell us about your firm.
I am. So my firm, Demetry DeCarlo, we're here in Chamblee. We've been in Chamblee for about 3 years. I have two other partners, Becky DeCarlo and Peter Kaufman. We have practiced together for a long time in different firms. And we decided to open this firm in Chamblee to really focus on small to mid-sized growing businesses. We found this community, really kind of fell in love with it, and have been really happy to be here ever since. So our firm works with companies from formation to maturity on general day-to-day corporate matters, contractual issues, disputes, as well as employment issues, so anything having to do with employees in the company, and we do litigation, both employment litigation and civil litigation, commercial litigation.
That's excellent. So you've been in Chamblee for 3 years. How did we get from, hey, we moved to Chamblee to, I'm now the president of the Chamber of Commerce?
Well, it happened relatively quickly.
It usually does.
It does, as you know from your experience. One of my commitments to myself when we opened this office here in Chamblee is that I wanted to get involved in the community. And soon after We moved here. We joined the Chamber of Commerce. And I met Kerry Mitchell, who was the president of the Chamber at the time, at one of the events. And got to know him a little bit better. Went to lunch a few different times. And I thought that we were friends, but turns out that Kerry was roping me into getting involved in the chamber.
I'm sorry I have to laugh because having been through that process and having been a former president of the chamber, that's exactly what the president does. He gets into office and then starts looking for who's going to take his place.
That's exactly right. So, and Kerry is a friend, so I obviously meant that as a joke. But I volunteered to get involved. I got on 2 committees. One was the Small Business Committee, chaired by Carol Fisher, and the other was the Membership Committee, chaired by Tom Abbott at the time. And I enjoyed being involved, and as the year went along, I got on the board because there was a vacancy on the board, and then I was asked whether I would serve as president of the chamber. And
well, I'm glad you mentioned the committees. So, Aurora, you've been here since the beginning. What committees does the chamber actually have? Jim mentioned the small business and the membership. Are there other committees besides that?
We have the events committee, and active at the moment is those 3.
Those 3, okay.
Correct.
well, as Aurora said, as you know, Van, from being involved in the chamber, it is always a challenge to find people that will devote the time. And it's not because they're not interested, it's because they're busy in their businesses.
Sure, they're running businesses.
Of course, they're busy running their businesses and dealing with all those issues that happen in all of our businesses day to day. And so we have a great group, and it continues to grow, of volunteers who are willing to get involved. But part of that process has been to try to consolidate some of our committees, just out of lack of resources, and then seek to bring more people in to get involved in the Chamber of Commerce so that we can do other things with other committees that we'd like to do. As Aurora said, we have a couple of big events a year, and that requires quite a few people to get involved to make those come off seamlessly and professionally. So right now we really focus on membership, and part of that is marketing. And then, as Aurora said, events. And so that is from big events to our normal monthly events, where we try to consolidate into one committee.
Well, I want to talk about membership for a second, because I think sometimes there's a lack of understanding. So the people listening to this podcast are going to be all over the place. They're not just business owners and entrepreneurs listening to this podcast. We have regular citizens. And, I think some of the citizens don't understand that there is a place for them in the chamber as well. Can you talk a little bit about what the chamber wants to see, whether it's a citizen coming to the event or participating or maybe even joining?
Sure, I'd love to. We are, as you well know, because you were one of the founders of the Chamber of Commerce back in 2013.
Well, I didn't want to mention that, but okay, yes.
Well, you were, and we're thankful for you doing that. We are basically a nonprofit business association. So we advocate for the interests of business. We have a number of events where we try to support businesses overtly and behind the scenes. We have educational events. We have events that we think are just interesting to the overall community. We have networking events. And we try to support our local businesses and any business that's interested in joining our chamber in a variety of different ways. We are always looking for other people to get involved, whether they're Chamblee citizens or even live outside this area, whether they have a business or not. We love to see new people coming to our events. We obviously are actively trying to solicit additional new members. So the more people, the merrier as far as we're concerned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in the past, last year, there's a co-branded event between the Brookhaven Chamber and the Chamblee Chamber. It was kind of a creative way to bring people together. Is that something that is a regular thing? Was that kind of a one-time thing?
No, it's actually a regular thing. Barbara Barber was the person that brought me into the chamber. She's the one that found me at one of the Chamblee 101 classes that the city of Chamblee puts for our residents. And
Just to clarify, I don't mean to interrupt you. For our listeners don't know, Barbara was the executive director of the chamber when it was first started.
That is
Yeah.
correct. And her and I attended a Chamblee 101 class. She found me there, and she thought that I would be a great addition because I am a native Spanish speaker, and we wanted to reach the Beaufort Highway community. So she bugged me for about five weeks, telling me, just send in your resume, send in your resume. We would love to have somebody in the chamber that speaks Spanish. So after a while, I said, okay, let me go ahead and do it. Well, when I joined the chamber, she had to leave. So Brookhaven, knowing that she had experience with Chamber Master and all our software, decided, let's pick her up. And by picking her up, it created I would say an amicable relationship, to where if she needs something, she calls me. If I need something, I call her. We work together. We are planning on doing more events together. So yes, it's a very amicable relationship between the Brookhaven and the Chamblee Chamber.
And I think that's smart because we've got listeners on this podcast
Sure.
throughout North DeKalb.
Oh yeah,
You know,
we've had Brookhaven businesses on the podcast.
and with everything going on in Chamblee, all the mixed-use development, all the people and the businesses that are coming, I mean, it just seems like a great platform for people and businesses to gain exposure and access.
I think that's exactly right. And if you look at obviously what our mission is, which is to support business, businesses that are here in Chamblee obviously have an interest in potentially doing business in Brookhaven, in the Dunwoody, Sandy Springs area as well. So we have close relationships with those other chambers of commerce and work together with them to support all of our members, and make sure that all of our members are getting the information that we think that would be helpful for them as they are going about their day-to-day business.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm curious if now that you've been the president for a while, if you think on this same topic, if you think that each of these little cities having their own chamber of commerce is the best route, or should there be some kind of consolidation? Obviously, there is a DeKalb chamber of commerce, but DeKalb's a big area. Should we be having conversations where maybe Brookhaven and Chamblee combine forces and create one North DeKalb chamber?
You know, it is a topic that, even in my short time, we have discussed. Our feeling at this point is that there continues to be great value in having just a Chamblee Chamber of Commerce and not a bigger North Fulton or regional chamber. But at the same time, I think it's worthy of further discussion. So one of the things that I set out to do when I became president earlier this year and haven't quite got done yet, so it remains on my to-do list, is actually I would like to form a group that is composed of chamber board members, Chamblee Chamber board members, individuals in our business community, and some officials with the city, and actually form a strategic advisory group that would look at a number of different issues about how we can improve what we're doing and better serve the business community. And Van, I think that is something that group would want to take a look at and see what the best outcome is for.
Because, you know, at the end of the day, these lines for the cities are just arbitrarily drawn by some politician. And is there really much of a difference when it comes to the businesses between ones that are on the other side of the line for Brookhaven? You know, they're similar businesses. They serve the same demographic of population.
Sure. I mean, obviously, I go over to Brookhaven.
Sure. Yeah.
I live in the Dunwoody, Sandy Springs area, but my business is here in Chamblee, and all of those are probably a 15-minute drive, depending on traffic, right? I mean, in the Atlanta area, driving is measured more on time rather than in miles, because it could be 2 miles and it could take 30 minutes. but we're all very close to each other, and we obviously have common interests in terms of supporting our businesses. At the same time, Chamblee has a great identity and is on a great path forward. And so for those businesses that are here, or those businesses that want to join our chamber, we want to make sure that we're paying particular attention to them and supporting them in any way that we can.
I'm so glad you brought that topic up. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to add that when the chamber was founded, someone saw the opportunity of making that a reality. That's why we have members that are from Brookhaven, from Doraville. We have members from all around Chamblee, and because we are not ready yet to become a one entity, we do work with other chambers like Dunwoody Perimeter, Brookhaven, that if they would like to come to one of our events, we give them the membership price as long as they are.
So at your events, you have two different prices, just to
Correct.
clarify. If you're a member, you get a less price than if you're a non-member.
That is correct.
And so
But
you're giving that member price to the corresponding members of other chambers.
that is correct. If they are an active member, they just send me a message. I'll give them the promotional code, and they come in as a chamber member price.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Do they return the favor?
Yes, they do.
Oh, well, there
Yes.
you go.
So if you are a chamber,
you need to go to a Brookhaven meeting.
yes.
There we go.
Well, I wanted to continue on the topic, Jim, that you were talking about, the new businesses coming, and obviously we've talked a lot on this podcast with all the different entrepreneurs about how Chamblee is transforming itself. The city, the mayor, the council, city staff, the development authority have done a great job of really pushing this growth, and we're seeing it transformed, and that means more businesses. So can you talk a little bit about what the chamber sees with all this growth, and, is there too much growth? Because it is affecting some of our older businesses.
It is, and like you said, I can comment on what I see and what I hear.
Okay.
I don't know that I know all of the intricacies of exactly what's going on with the city or affecting all of our businesses, but we have obviously seen a tremendous growth in Chamblee, and that growth, by every indication, is going to continue. If you just look at membership in our Chamber of Commerce, I think that growth of Chamblee businesses is reflected in our membership growth, and so we've grown about 20% just year to date in terms of number of members.
Well, that's because of you, right?
Well, it's certainly not because of me, but I think we've done some great things, and people before us did some great things to move us in this direction. But that obviously also reflects new businesses moving into the area.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that growth is great. We've had some great businesses come in, very successful businesses, which aren't necessarily big businesses, and I think that that's one thing that makes Chamblee unique.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a lot of entrepreneurs that have started businesses and have grown them, and the environment I think that the city has created for business growth has been wonderful.
Yeah.
At the same time, that growth also brings pressures on businesses, and so not surprisingly, we've seen things like office rents go up in the area. There are businesses that I talk to that have grown enough where they need more space, and they want to stay in Chamblee, but those choices in terms of moving into bigger space are getting less and less because of the growth of the city.
Yeah.
So with growth comes challenges, and having that work out in a way where we can keep the businesses that are here and continue to attract new ones is obviously going to be the challenge going forward.
I hate to put you on the spot, but one of the going back in history, and this was before your time, the city of Chamblee used to have a business association. It was really just a networking group, and that was how I got started in the organization. Was just like what you said with your story. I went to a meeting, I met the president, his name was Brent Morris,
Right.
and within 2 months he had me on the board, and then all of a sudden I found the reason he had me on the board was because he wanted me to take over as president.
Right.
And so at that time, there was a bit of a challenge between the relationship of the businesses and the city. It was difficult to go through the city process. I will admit that they have done a fabulous job of changing that culture at the city hall and making it a little bit easier to go through getting the permits and whatnot. But there's always going to be sort of that, hey, how do I go through this? What do you see going forward with the chamber and the relationship with the city to make it even stronger?
And that's a great question. So as you well know, our Chamber of Commerce does not have an economic development arm. Some other chambers do have that role. We don't. And so we want to make sure that our business community is working closely and well with the city on the needs that the business community has. And I think our relationship with the city is very good at this point. There's always room for improvement, and we're working hard to make it the best kind of relationship that we can. And Laura Lindman, who is the city's business outreach liaison, is an ex officio member of our board, and we thought that was very important for her to be part of our group.
Yeah, that kind of shows how far the city's come, because that position did not exist just even 3-4 years ago.
That's right, and that link between the city government and the businesses and that role that Laura fills is a really important role. Yeah. And then us working with the city and working with Laura to support her, we also feel is really important. So that has been great, and we're so pleased that she's involved with us. What I found early on, going back to when I first started getting involved a year or two ago, is that a number of businesses just had questions about, if I need a sign permit, who do I talk to?
Yeah.
And so, when you deal with the Chamblee city government, it sure is a heck of a lot easier than going down to DeKalb County. And that's not a knock on DeKalb County.
Oh, that's okay. You can knock DeKalb County.
It's really big, right? So one of the things that we've tried to do is to help our business community understand who is in City Hall and what do they do. So last year and this year, we had an event where we called it Meet the City. And all of the department heads from the city came to the event and introduced themselves, described what they do, and everybody had an opportunity to meet them one-on-one, let alone hear little talks about what their priorities were, which just helps that relationship, I think, between our businesses and our city officials. We obviously also have the annual State of the City event.
Excellent event.
It is. It's a great event, with the mayor giving an update on what's been going on over the past year and what the plans are going forward. And that is well supported as well by all the city officials.
Yeah.
The Downtown Development Authority.
I love that event because, it used to be when we were the business association, the mayor did the same thing, but it was to a crowd of maybe 20 or 30 people in the old 1970s Civic Center that Chamblee has.
Right.
And today, it's what? Tell us what that event's like. It's not 20 or 30 people anymore.
It's not.
How many people, or how many people do we get at that event?
Last year we had 173 people at the Marriott Ballroom, and we've held that event there for 3 years in a row. And every year the crowd gets bigger from all over the place. Many city officials from DeKalb. It's fantastic.
We got to give a huge shout out to the Marriott. They do such a great job hosting that for the chamber, and obviously they have the space to hold such a big event.
And it's a beautiful facility.
Yeah.
It was completely renovated, I think, several years ago,
Right.
and so it is really a nice hotel, and we love having the event over there.
Well, we have come to the point where we need to take a short break to hear from our sponsor, and when we come back, we're going to play our fun Hot or Not game. You got some questions for him, Eric?
I do. Wait and see. Come back and find out.
We'll be back just after these messages.
Looking for an affordable, functional, and creative space to work? Check out 3411 Co-working in downtown Chamblee. They have flexible month-to-month office space options that include fiber internet, meeting rooms, printing, coffee, snacks, and networking events. 3411 Co-working is the perfect place for entrepreneurs, remote workers, and small business owners looking for a one-stop shop for your professional needs. Stop by for a tour Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 and see how 3411 Co-working can work for you.
All right, welcome back to Between Two Trains. My name's Van. I'm sitting here to my right with Eric Moss, to my co-host, and we've been having a great conversation with Jim and Aurora from the Chamblee Chamber of Commerce, and we're going to throw some softballs at them for hot or not.
Here we go. I'm warming up. You have
Okay.
me in the pen. It's
All right.
warming up. So one of the challenges for the chamber is driving membership, also getting a series of speakers lined up. So when it comes to approaching new members, and specifically the businesses that are maybe new, cold calling, hot or not? Cold calling on those businesses to say, hey, here we are. Is that hot or not? How do you approach that?
Jim's got the biggest smile on his
I
face.
do.
I have a feeling he's done that some.
I have, and so I'm going to say hot. But I understand how reluctant people are to engage in cold calling. At the same time, I think we have a great product to sell. So go ahead and pick up the phone and give somebody a call that you might not know. Introduce yourself and talk about the great things that we're doing.
Do you think it's easier if you went actually into the business rather than just pick up the phone?
Absolutely. And
So
that's always
does
preferred.
the membership committee, they have like an endeavor to do that, to go around door to door?
We do. We do, and we've now got some great marketing materials that we've put together, and I've got to thank Jenna Simons at Black Bear Design for helping us put this together.
Yes, she was on the show a couple of months back. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of our great Chamblee businesses. We have something to give people that we think helps explain who we are, and the more you can get face to face with somebody, the better.
Yeah. Now let me just go a step further. In terms of lining up the speakers to come in or planning that out, how do you approach them? Because, you approached the guy from the AJC, Riley.
Kevin Riley.
Kevin Riley. A lot of times these are people that are tough to gain access to. So hot or not, cold calling them?
Very hot. Very hot. And the reason is because they're they are very busy people,
Yeah.
first of all. And then we also have to find a topic that our chamber members are interested in. So the most difficult thing there is to find something that will be interesting and useful for our members.
Right.
Finding a person that has the time to come to a breakfast or a luncheon and speak to them is the thing that becomes difficult. So we're always open for ideas, and we always ask if you have somebody that you can recommend, if you have a connection.
Yeah.
Like, for example, 5 years ago, we had Charlene Fang that brought Monica Pearson to
Right.
us. That was absolutely amazing. And the
Yeah.
only reason why she was able to come and do it for us was because she is a personal friend.
Of
So if you have a
Charlene.
very important friend that could bring a great topic to the Chamblee business community, give us a call.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. Having been in that role at one time, having to find speakers, and I think you would admit, Aurora, that the turnout at the events really is reflective of what the topic is and who that speaker is, because there have been some chamber events where you got like less than a handful of people that show up, and nothing against whoever that speaker was, but it just wasn't engaging for the community to come to.
That is correct. But then also we have events where not many people show up, but the speakers are fantastic.
Yeah.
So it really is a difficult.
It's a balancing act.
It's a difficult thing to balance, because sometimes the speakers are great, but there wasn't much of a turnout, and then sometimes most of the time that when there is a big turnout, the speakers are fantastic.
I always
so what am I
liked
saying?
the events that y'all put on where they were almost, and you mentioned the city one, or maybe Eric did, I don't remember, where you had all the different staff from the city, almost like a panel type of thing. And we've had a lot of those over the years at the Chamber. We did one where we brought all the different mayors, I think,
Yes.
from all this corresponding cities, and maybe all the economic development managers.
That's right.
And there was a number of those panel style. Oh, the developer one. That was a really great one. The chamber invited the lead developers on all these developments that we're now seeing completed to come and talk about when they were still under construction. So, well, Eric, if you got another one.
I thought we were going to ping pong.
Oh, okay. So that makes it my turn.
But
all right. So, golly, there's some I want to ask, but I think I'd be in trouble for asking them.
So while you're thinking of that, I want to mention one other event that we started.
Yes, please.
And kind of back to that topic of getting the right people and how does it all work out. Mm-hmm. So earlier this year, Jen Holbrook Sells with Building 4 Fabrication came up with a great idea for a networking event that we call Chamber Cheers.
Yes. To
go around to some of our great local restaurants and see if they would host a networking event where we could get our members to come and hopefully find ways to do business with each other. So we've had several of those this year. We started at Blue Top. We've been to Hopsticks. We did one at the Marriott. We did our annual one at Vintage with Frosty Caboose. We just did one at Downwind Restaurant. And they have been great events. And it's been so successful that we're now actually getting calls from other restaurants and establishments in this community for us to have an event at their location. So once you can get something going like that, word gets around, and it helps draw other people and other businesses into the chamber. So it's been great.
Is there a critical mass that the chamber needs to take the organization to the next level? You mentioned how some chambers have an economic development arm. Is Chamblee ready for that, or we still have some growth to go before the chamber can handle that?
We still have some growth to go.
Yeah.
We are still relatively small.
Yeah. And still relatively young if you think about how old chambers are. That was when we started the chamber, or how many years has it been now? 5?
Since
Five.
December of 2013.
Right. So when we started that 5 years ago, there was a comment that was made over and over, which was one of the driving forces for doing it, which was Chamblee's a 100-year-old city. How does it not have a chamber of commerce? Because you have, like the city of Atlanta's got a chamber, and then you got state chambers and whatnot. They've been around for a long, long time, and here you have a very old city that has no chamber of commerce. So it's relatively young. What critical mass do you think? Do you have a number in mind on how many members the chamber needs to get to? Maybe a goal that we at Between Two Trains can help push. 300 members, 500 members, 1,000 members, where we need to be?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know that I have a specific goal in mind. I at this point, have growth goals over the short term, and try not to get too ahead of myself. We have about 120 members right now. I would love over the next year to get to 200 members. And then we'll go from there.
Well, that should be achievable when you think about the fact that Chamblee, and a lot of people don't realize this, has a lot of businesses. Unlike some of our neighboring cities that have more citizen population than businesses, Chamblee's got close to 2,100, I believe. Does that number sound right, Aurora? Yes. About 2,100 businesses. That's a lot for a city this size.
It is, and it's ranging in size, obviously, from sole proprietors to significant corporations. I think that there's some areas of Chamblee that we haven't tapped yet, where we need to go and do more face-to-face discussions with businesses. So the one that always comes to the top of my mind is the Century City Complex. That's part of Chamblee. There are a lot of great businesses over there.
People forget about the office businesses because they so focus on the restaurants and the retailers and stuff like that.
That's right. So I mean, would you call it low hanging fruit? I'm not sure I'd go that far, but certainly I could spend an afternoon going door to door in a number of buildings over there in Century
I think
Center.
Also another from a geographical, since you mentioned that a lot of people don't know that Century Center is part of the city of Chamblee. Just that whole access road along 85, which has tons of businesses up and down it, which are all inside the city limits.
Sure.
And people completely forget there are businesses over there because it's not like, I mean, it's an access road, you know?
Right.
That's right.
There's got to be 100+ businesses just on that road.
I mean, this area, specifically Chamblee, is becoming so popular that even locations that are outside the city limits are putting the Chamblee name on their business.
And that's a big change because that was not what it used to be. There was at one time in this city's history a negative connotation, and people wanted to call their business Dunwoody,
Or
even though they
Brookhaven.
or Brookhaven,
Right.
even though they were located in Chamblee. It frustrates the hell out of me that there's an apartment complex right outside my neighborhood that calls itself Dunwoody on the name of the apartment complex. I won't mention what their whole name is, but they are not in Dunwoody.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if they changed their name,
Yeah,
because that connotation of Chamblee is gone, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, to give you an example, when Whole Foods came in, they were calling themselves Whole Foods
It's
Brookhaven.
Brookhaven, yeah.
And now, as soon as you come in, it says Whole Foods Chamblee. Also, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, the one
Yeah.
here off of Claremont and Peachtree Boulevard, they were calling themselves CHOA
Yeah.
of Brookhaven / Chamblee, which now they're just dropping the Brookhaven and calling themselves Chamblee.
Yeah, and you're right about that. Well, we're almost out of time here, so I wanted to give you, Jim, the opportunity, any parting words, what you want to tell people, a website for them to go join as members.
Sure. First, I'd like to thank you both for hosting us today. This has been great and enjoyable, and I love hearing your Between Two Chains podcasts every week, so thank you again. My parting words is we would love to get more people involved. We need more people to get on committees. We would love to get new members. I think we've got some great things to offer. Aurora's been the glue that's kept us together for years and years, so she knows all the ins and outs, and anybody can give her a call and get any information that they need. You can visit our website, chambleechamber.org, and we have an online application, and you can pay right online when you join. I think our dues are extremely reasonable, and so we would love anybody else to join and come and hang out with us and develop some business, because that's what we're all about.
Before we go, you want to give a plug for if someone needs your services as a lawyer, where should they go?
Sure. Thank you very much. Our website is demetrydicarlo.com, and we are on North Peachtree Road, between Peachtree Road and Peachtree Boulevard.
Well, Eric, once again, thank you for being my co-host. Any parting words from Chase Bank?
Well, we love participating in events, and if you haven't checked out the roster of events, it's a good practice to do as you plan out your year, is to go online and look at the schedule of events, get on the email train, and get the notifications from Aurora. She does a great job. In terms of the banking business, things are. We're growing the market. Business is good.
Yeah.
The Fed recently cut rates, and it looks like that may continue. So that's sparking a lot of conversations, kind of a different sentiment in terms of where things are going economically. But whenever things change and move, it's good for business.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all, Aurora. Thank you, Jim,
Thank
for
you.
coming on the show. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with another great episode of Between Two Trains.
Thanks, Van.